Hello, I'm Marcy Payne, licensed therapist in Missouri and also a self-love coach for people pleasers. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to free your inner people pleaser so you are freer to be yourself. I think you will find that my perspective is a little deeper and has a little more context to where people pleasing comes from and why it's not a character flaw, and as well as some practical steps you can take to become a resource to yourself. So, with all of that in mind, some of the highlights that I'll be covering are what is people pleasing, and then I'm going to go into a little bit more depth on why I believe it's not a character or personality flaw, as well as I'll share what the top main consequences are of continuing to be overly pleasing, and 4 skills that you need in order to stop people pleasing or heal where the people pleasing is coming from. I'm going to give you some self-reflection questions so you can get some clarity at the end of this video, and then also offer you some additional support if this is something you would like to continue healing and growing. Okay, so let's begin. What is people pleasing? In general, it's a strong urge to please others, even if it costs your own well-being, happiness, health, dreams, desires, bank account, time, etc. And in more recent times, the field of psychology has even named pleasing or termed it as fawning to be one of the 4 main ways that people respond to trauma or stress. So in that way, pleasing or fawning is when you merge with the wishes, needs, or demands of others. It's when you're putting others' happiness or expectations above your own. And you may, if this sounds like you, most of my clients that are people pleasers, they self-identify this most often before I do. So they may have grown up in a family. You may have grown up in a family where it wasn't safe to speak up or be yourself. Maybe it wasn't safe to have conflict, or just to have a different opinion. Or it may not have been in the family you grew up in. It could also have been you were in a relationship where you felt like you needed to keep your partner happy or calm. And so it would make sense that in any of these situations that pleasing or agreeing or caretaking would have been something you developed in order to feel safe or create peace in the environment. So in that way, it may feel like people pleasing it defines you. In fact, there's many articles, if you Google people pleasing, there's just a lot of negative views out there about it. So I believe that it is something you learn to do, and it is not who you are. So in that case, I also believe it's not a personality flaw. Like I said earlier, it's a response to trauma or chronic stress, and it can become one of the primary ways that you deal with challenges, and that's why it's a part of you, but it's not all of you. So let that sink in. People pleasing in this way, I like to think of it as there's an inner people pleaser inside of you, or inside of many of us, that means well. This part of you probably has a positive intention. It might be wanting you to be successful or happy or liked, wants you to belong, wants you to be safe. And if this part of you was developed in a time where it didn't feel safe or it didn't feel like it could be itself, then it's not sure how else to help you or how much it's even costing you. And so it needs your help. And that's what we're going to explore in this video. So I have found that most people do not shift or change anything unless they realize how much it's costing them. And so these are the 3 main consequences. And so I want you to just contemplate, as I'm reading through these, which of these sound like something you're experiencing, if you've been a long time people pleaser, if it's your go-to strategy that you do without even thinking, where you feel like you almost don't even have a choice, others don't probably give you a choice or make it easy on you. In fact, you may be the go-to person in your family and expected to be the strong one, or it may just be that it's hard for you to be someone that needs help and support. So, what are the costs of people pleasing? One, you might notice that you feel resentful. You may be tolerating a little and putting up with a lot of imbalance in your relationships, or even disrespect in your relationships. So eventually you will start to resent being the overgiver and your needs being overshadowed by others' needs and wants. And you may also feel burned out. You could become so exhausted when you put others' wants and needs first all the time. Things that you used to feel passionate or excited about, you may, just feel burned out. And then lastly, you may find that your relationships are more one-sided. You may realize you don't actually really feel that close in your relationships, friendships, or partnerships, and that you are usually the one that's overgiving. So, it doesn't have to stop here, though. You can learn to be a resource to yourself by loving and prioritizing yourself. And having worked with a lot of people one-on-one that have been able to, like I said, free their inner people pleaser and become more of themselves, I've found that there are 4 main skills that seem to really help people. So I'm going to share a little bit about these and then some next steps. First, if it's not already obvious, self-care would be really important. If you have been ignoring your needs, you would need to learn, or for maybe the first time for some of you, to tune into what you need and to do this on a daily basis, and then choose to care for your whole self each and every day. And then if you feel like your identity has been so wrapped up in what others want you to be, then getting reacquainted with yourself so that you can even show up and be yourself and be true to yourself would be another skill. You may need to start at the beginning, discovering what you enjoy, what you value, even what you dislike. And then you can start to make choices from that place that feels like you are more aligned with who you are and what's important to you, even if others are disappointed. Which leads me to skill 3, learning to express yourself. Find your voice, learn what your genuine yes is as well as your no, so that you have a choice on what you say yes to and what you say no to, even if others don't make it easy on you. And then actually practice setting some boundaries with things that don't matter that much to you before you move on to what's most important to you. And then lastly, self-acceptance. If you've been trying to deny your feelings and desires to keep others happy, then focus on reconnecting with yourself. Commit to getting to know all of your feelings and parts of your personality over time, not all in one day. And then that may even include offering this part that wants to please so bad, and that's afraid of what might happen if you aren't pleasing. Just, giving that part some appreciation for all it's done so far to try to protect you. But then over time, you want to learn how to become a resource to yourself. So your inner people pleaser is free, and you are freer to be yourself. So if this is resonating with you and you want to take some next steps to either get more support or to get more clarity, here are some questions. Feel free to pause this video or come back to it anytime. These are some questions I'd recommend starting with in your journal or just on a scratch piece of paper. And so, what is people pleasing costing you? And also, what is people pleasing costing your relationships? Often people don't think it's costing the relationship anything because they're like, the other person is getting whatever they want. But that is co-creating a relationship. They have a part to play too. That is less than fulfilling for you, or it's the relationship is based solely on what you can do for them and you not showing up as your true self. So there is a cost to the relationship, especially over time. So consider that. And then this is a little deeper question. What is your inner people pleaser afraid would happen if it didn't please or agree with others? And then where did you learn to be such a people pleaser or a caretaker? Most people have some ideas on that one. And then lastly, which of the 4 skills that I described that help shift people pleasing, which of them do you desire to strengthen first? And lastly, if you need more support, I have both a kind of an introduction class on emotional self-care and also a longer course on prioritizing yourself. And that includes self-care for all of you, mind, body, emotions, spiritual self, as well as 2 modules in there on boundaries, both how to set boundaries and how to hold on to boundaries. And then even a practice on how to connect with yourself every day. Anyways, it is a complete course. So I will leave links below on how to get more information, both on the mini masterclass that focuses more on emotions, and then the more complete course on prioritizing yourself. And then if you have any questions, feel free to leave questions in the comments below. And I hope this was useful for you. Take care.